good morning and happy Earth Day. Thank you for joining this morning for our 5th Storage Byte. I'm Erica Emerson, the Sales Director for 21st Century Software, and I'm joined by Susan Clutter, our Executive Account Manager, and Scott Fagen, our CPO. We're recording this session, so I'll ask that you mute your phones whenever you're not speaking. As we did last month, we'd like to introduce some additional functionality that really kind of reduces the tediousness of some tasks. For those of you who couldn't join our previous conversations on right-sizing your data, or CDP, or we had a couple of different sessions on automation, please reach out and we'll be happy to share them with you. This is an interactive session, so we do absolutely want to make sure that you are asking questions and giving feedback, and also thinking of topics and questions, tasks, or any kind of innovations that you'd like to see. Feel free to let us know what they might be, and we'd like to hear about them. So please interact and let us know what you think. All right. So with that, I'm going to hand this over to Scott, and we can go ahead and get started.
All right. I'll just ask for the last piece of housekeeping. Have you started the recording?
I have, yes, sir.
Okay. Good to go. It's just not showing on my screen, so.
Let me double check.
Okay.
It says it is recording. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so it'll be a bigger editing job this time. All right, so welcome everybody to Storage Byte number 5. I'm going to talk a little bit today about, so I'm not completely altruistic. Some of this is to save our time, and a lot of it is to save your time and help you with some of the efforts around some of the manual intervention, manual tasks that are associated with total storage. So let's just get right into it. We're going to talk about a new set of ISPF dialog support that enables you as the administrator of total storage to view the current state of the data space records, or if you speak internally in terms of shorthand, DSRECs, and also to create, view, and edit override records, which allow you to change the impact of what data space records do. And we're in the process of doing the QA and packaging of this, and it will show up as as an update to the 1.7 version of the product. So to start with, just a real short discussion on what DSRECs and OVRECS are. DSRECs, they are the data space records, and what these essentially are is all of the sum of knowledge that total storage has about about the life cycle of the data sets that it's managing and monitoring. Essentially, when you go and grab up all the SMF data and run it through the total storage analytics grinding machine, this information is saved into a data set, and when the product is up and running, it's loaded as a large set of information into a data space. And as things are being allocated or migrated, total storage is using this information to determine, say, the correct sizing of a data set, or the right time to migrate a data set or not migrate a data set, as it might be. OVRECs are used by the user and created by the user to basically say, that's great, total storage, your analytics are wonderful, but I want the answer to be something else. So this allows you to override the behavior that total storage has observed and run through its algorithms and come up with a different result. So in essence, right, this is sort of an overlay or an override to an existing data space record. So I'm just going to kind of run through the panels here real quick. There's 20 some odd panels to run through, so we'll see how that goes. So in the support, there are really 2 new main menu options. The first new one is to review the current set of DSRECs, and the nice thing about this is to take a look and see, what what is action, what total storage is using to take action against your allocations and migrations. And then there's another one that says to manage the OVRECs, right? So from this, you can take a look and see what your current set of OVRECs are. You may want to update them or delete them as the analytics have, will change over time as the behavior of your system changes. And it's certainly better to let the system-generated analytics do their thing over time as the system learns the behavior of how your jobs generate and use data sets. So we'll start by looking at number 6, the DSRECs stuff, DSRECs dialog. The first thing it does is it goes off and looks at the active product and grabs all of the data out of the data set. Now, these data sets can be really large, so this might take a little while. And also, there are limitations in TSO and ISPF as to the amount of data that can be processed at a particular point in time. So it's probably a really good idea to put a filter in to reduce the amount of information that's going to be processed. Consuming and then trying to process in memory, over 100,000 records is going to take a while. And if your system isn't configured to allow you to have this much storage, you might see an out of storage kind of condition. There are 3 kinds of filters that you can use. You could say star, which displays all the records. I'm not going to sit here and recommend that, but you can do it. You can say star string, which will allow you to display all the records that have a particular string within the dataset name, and that includes periods. So you could say something like star ISPF.profile. So there's no magic to what's after the star. You can find anything that's sort of in the middle of a dataset name, or prefix if you wanted to go after, say, a production set of datasets or a set of production set datasets. The prefix doesn't have to be fully qualified, and there is no masking when you use a prefix. So we've got an example here that uses a DPP 10B as in boy as the prefix, and what comes out are the first 1,000 data sets. So we, to limit the amount of time that it takes to produce the first screen, we go after the first 1,000. And then as you scroll up or down, we will pull more and more records into memory, to when you reach the bottom of the virtual window that we're processing. If you do something crazy like down 10,000, we will go and read the next 9,000 records to create to get you to the point where you can see the 10,000th record. It may take a little bit of time. So then you can go off and select an individual record to take a look at the contents of that record. And what you're seeing here in this display is sort of the sum total of all the information that total storage has accumulated about this particular data set. And this is a really big improvement, say, for us from a support perspective, and for you from a customer interacting with support perspective, because a lot of times we'll ask you for the whole file, or we'll ask you, to send us records, and can be a real pain in the neck. Now you'd be able to just send us a screenshot or allow our support person, into this dialogue to take a look at what's going on when you think that bad things are happening to good data sets because of total storage. We can understand what total storage is operating off of and why it made some of the decisions that it made. So now from the DSRECs display, we can actually go and say, well, we don't like the outcome of the analytics for this particular data set. We can override it. And you get a very similar panel that takes all of the information and displays it in a way that you can go and overtype the values. So if you don't like the data class, the management class, the storage class, or any of the decisions that were made about the data set, you can go and update those values. Now, this is very much a your mileage may vary kind of situation. If you go in and create crazy information, total storage is going to operate crazy because it's been giving crazy information. One of the other cool things one of the cool things while this can be a fairly sizable gun pointed at your foot, we do provide some shielding for your lower leg and knee around things like the data class and management class, because we will validate the values that you put in there so that you're not choosing things that are just not available. If you are running the tool on a system where the total storage is not running, say you're running the total storage dialog on a systems programmer sandbox, and the storage and the various SMS constructs are not the same between that system and the production system where the DSRECs and OVRECS files are running, you can't override, because you know that the checking that we're doing is not correct, and we have an example of that moving forward. So we'll change the data class here, and what will happen is, and it's not a correct one. So what will come back is it'll say, hey, these are the available storage classes. Why don't you choose one of these? So when you haven't chosen the correct one, it'll now come back and say, hey, don't like this. If you want to go back and get a valid class, you can put a question mark in the prompt. Or if you want to take this as an override because you know that AC 8900 is correct on the system where this is being used, you can then hit the Y in the second part of the prompt. I'm not sure if you can see my mouse, but over here to take what the dialog believes is an invalid storage class and still use it. But again, right, your mileage may vary. If you do give an invalid answer, we may do some crazy stuff there. So here we're going to ask for the list of classes. These show up along with their descriptions if we can obtain them, and you can then select the class you want to use for the override. Now, when you change, this is the other part of the armor plating that we provide for your lower leg and knee. When you change these classes, there are flags that are associated with total storage that kind of work in conjunction with the class. And so we will prompt you to just have a look at those flags to make sure that they are, that what you've got set there is sane compared to the change in the class value that you've put in there. This will be different depending on which of the classes that you've chosen. So in this case, right, you've changed the data class, so we're asking you to take a look at the particular flags that are associated with the data class. You can change them or not, depending on what you need. More than likely, this will be a decision that you and the support person kind of jointly reach for building this OVRECS record. When you're finished making all your OVRECS, right, we're going to update the OVRECS file. But before we do that, we're going to back it up so that you can always drop back, if the behavior that you obtain from changing and adding OVRECS isn't what you're looking for. We do allow you to go back to the prior one, and if you do this multiple times, we'll just keep creating backups based on the value at the time you started the dialogue. There's also instructions here to activate the new OVRECS data, but we won't do this for you because we didn't put all the capability in to actually do the update and things like that, and it's probably not a good idea to allow that directly from the dialogue itself. This is probably something that you want to do either with an IPL or with some other coordinated system change. So we just give you the instructions here. Okay, now let's take a look at viewing and modifying the existing OVRECS, not creating a new one from a DSRECs. So when you choose 7, right, you get a much smaller number of things. It's not anticipated that you're going to have thousands of these. But what you get are the current set, and in a very similar form that you would have gotten the DSRECs in. You can choose one. The displays are essentially the same, other than with the fact that we show you what the overrides were that you specified. And then you can go in, and if it's desired to change one of them, you can change it. Exactly the same as when you're dealing with a DSRECs. Oops, wow, that was kind of sensitive. Exactly the same as when you were dealing with creating a DSREC, an OVRECS from a DSREC, same sort of input panel. And then there's, and when you're done with that, the same set of confirmations and checking around the classes will occur. Now, another thing that you can do is repeat one because you would like to have a data set, another data set have the same overrides as one that's say a model. So let's, in this case, we're going to create a new record that uses a prior record's information as its model. So here we're going to repeat the dpp10w.xp.pmr.wk649 value into a new OVRECS. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to have to change the name of the data set because you can't have two OVRECS for the same data set. And you wouldn't want to. So the dialog will prompt you to do that. And then you move forward. And when you're done with that, the same sort of back-end checking is going to occur around the data class, management class, storage class. And then make a copy of the current OVRECS and update the active one and prompt you to go off and make that the active one for your system or sysplex. Right, and then when you're done and you've done this update, it will show up. It will show up in the display, and so you can continue, edit, modify another one, or be finished with the dialog. So that's what we have for today. I think this is going to be pretty useful. I know that Sal and Dave are kind of excited about this, and also want to thank Lionel for doing the lion's share of the ISPF dialog work. Any questions or thoughts? Anybody want to try this out?
Yeah, this is Gus. We just installed, I don't know which build it was, but a 1.7 build this year. But it does not include these new panel options. Which build includes them?
The next one. This is still in quality assurance at this point.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Trying to get some. Yeah, no, that's all right. I don't know that I made that clear at the beginning.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Are you interested in trying it out, Gus?
Sure.
Cool.
As soon as it becomes available.
Yeah. Anybody else? Thoughts? Good, bad, indifferent? Anybody else would like to raise their hand to try it out? We'd certainly like to get somebody to do a little beta test on it before we foist it on, the entire world. All right. If the silence is because you have to ask somebody, please get back to me, Erica, or Susan. Our contact information is here.
You're talking about like a trial or a beta test?
Yeah,
or what?
A beta test. Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
A beta test. Yeah, I mean, I've been at this long enough to know that we can think that we've dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's, and then it turns out that we've dotted all the T's and crossed all the I's when it actually lands at a customer site.
Okay.
And when you're inside of something, right, like we are, the externals and the usability are what we want, and it may not be what you guys want. So, okay. Before we release it to the whole world, it would be nice to have, I know you've used the product for, a zillion years at this point. Getting your perspective on how it works and making some adjustments based on, your experience would be really important for us.
Okay.
Well, if you want, if this is your last load, just leave it in the wheelbarrow.
And the nice thing about this function is that it doesn't change. There's no hooks into the guts of the analytics or the actual running of the actual code that's running during allocation or HSM processing. So it's, if you don't use it, it's not going to be deleterious to the rest of the system. And the worst thing that can happen is you drop back to a prior version of your OVRECS. So
I want it to be a body in the meeting. Yeah. Support them. That's it.
all right. Well, I mean, if that's what we've got, that's what I have for today. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Appreciate your time and your thoughts, and certainly we do appreciate you all as being our customers, and hopefully we can continue to to develop things like this to make our products stronger and more valuable to you. Back to you, Erica.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again, everyone, for joining. And if there is a feature or an innovation or a task that we can make easier for you, please do let us know.